and he's just standing there with his arm out like I lost it. So Carson, I assume you've seen all the hullabaloo online. A few days ago was Spider-Man Day, very big day that Spider-Man first appeared in the comic books. My favorite character pretty much in media. I know he's a big part of your life as well. Big fan of it for the both of us.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man Day, we got two really big things. One was a little bit of a teaser of the new suit. And then the
Yes.
next day, honestly, very unexpectedly, we got Tom wearing that suit. We did not
Right.
know what the head looks like, which I think is very purposeful because they don't want us to see what the eyes look like because that's a big part of a Spider-Man suit is the eyes.
Right. Yeah.
But we did get the suit and Tom wearing the suit. And we've gotten some stuff from the set and we can talk and reveals of the plot. We can talk about that if you want to or not. But let me know. What are your thoughts on the suit so far?
So I love the idea because after this thing was announced, and like I thought it in my own head, but it was like when people started saying it and agreeing with me, I knew I wasn't like completely stupid on it. I love the idea that, Peter's suit is kind of an inspiration of both Andrew and Toby's suits. And the logical reason that they can actually come up with is like he got it from their suits, like because they were in
Yeah.
the film together. And I love the idea that he's, kind of picking up after people who he would consider his brothers because he's spent all this time with them and they're other Spider-Men and he's learning from them and he's designing things after them. I just think it's a really cool nod and idea to do something like that. I don't know if that's like actually intentional. I don't know if that's Marvel's like actual like idea of, oh yeah, this is a great idea. Like let's combine both these suits. Let's give it a little Tom Holland flair, and there you go, new Spider-Man suit. I don't know if that's actually what it is, but I like thinking that it is because that's a really cool story dynamic, and it's such a cute little moment to add into Peter's character. The actual suit though itself, it's incredible. I mean, we remember watching No Way Home, and we remember watching that new comic accurate suit. And obviously, I do wish we had that. I do wish that we could have seen that suit more. This suit also feels very close to that. Like it's not that far off from it. Um, I do agree with you about them not revealing the mask. I do think that that's purposeful because I think they're changing the eye design slightly. Not so much that it detracts from what it used to be, because I think that specific Spider-Man head and eye like set piece, whatever you want to call it, is so specific to Tom's Spider-Man that I don't think they would change that much of it. But they could change a little bit, which is probably why they're not revealing it for a certain reason. Or we could all be completely stupid and, they changed nothing. And it was just, oh, well, we figured you'd want to see Tom Holland instead of the mask. It very well could be that. But no, the suit looks
Yeah.
cool. I'm more excited for some of the like plot details and the cast announcements though.
Yeah, let's go ahead
Um,
and get into the plot details. I mean, I'll give my very cursory thoughts on the suit. I love it. I was texting with a friend about it. He hit me up
yeah.
literally like the second that it dropped, and he's like, "I'm assuming you saw the news," and I was like, "Dude, I was probably the first person to see that news. Like, I saw that shit immediately." As the biggest Tom Holland Spider-Man fan that there is, he is my Spider-Man. It was so cool. I love the suit. The biggest thing for me was seeing the 3D webbing that is very indicative of again previous Spider-Man suits. It is something that
Right.
is just so core to that character, and I love that. Again, like you said, it very much feels like they're bringing in the different elements from the suits, from Toby, from Andrew, and kind of giving a little Tom Holland spin on it. So I'm a big fan of that. Again, I think the not revealing the eyes, very purposeful. That is the next biggest part of a Spider-Man suit is those eyes. I think it's going to be a big deal. Are they going to be CGI and move? Are they not going to move? We've had it both ways before.
Sure.
Who knows?
Right.
But the plot details, some of the plot details, I think most of the plot details I kind of anticipated. I feel like it's not super shocking.
Yeah.
Daredevil being
Yeah.
involved and Punisher being involved, not surprising whatsoever. Removing street level, we've already seen Daredevil in a Spider-Man capacity before with him in No Way Home as his attorney. The one that shocked
Right.
me the most, and the one that I'm honestly kind of apprehensive about, is the Hulk.
Yeah, I could well, here's the thing. I could understand Bruce Banner being a part of the story. I could honestly believe Bruce Banner being a part of the story. The Hulk's a different story, and the reason I'm apprehensive about it is because I specifically read a thing where it said, "Oh, the Punisher, the Hulk, and Spider-Man are all going to be a scene together where they fight."
Mhm.
Which, okay, Professor Hulk maybe because he won't actively try to kill Peter Parker, he won't actively try to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes sense a little bit. The Punisher, I do believe, like that's a fight I
Yeah,
could easily see happening.
absolutely.
Um, As to why, I don't know, because Punisher doesn't technically, as of Born Again, dates, doesn't have anything against vigilantes. He doesn't necessarily agree with it, but he doesn't have anything against them. Not like the Kingpin, where he's actively trying to kill every vigilante, like he did with White Tiger. It's it's a very different type of relationship that Punisher has with vigilantes. So I really want to know how they're going to utilize the Punisher and the Hulk and Spider-Man in all of these different ways. Um, they also specifically finally said is we're gonna see like a PG-13 version of Punisher, which please stop right there, stop right there. Wait a minute. I'm gonna speak to Marvel for a second. Look at me, look at me, Kevin Feige. No, don't do this. Why the fuck are you doing this, Kevin Feige?
Because they can't
Don't
do
do
pun
this.
because they can't make Spider-Man rated R. It's
I
just they can't. It's the same thing
yeah,
with what's gonna happen with Secret Wars. When we inevitably see Deadpool in Secret Wars, he's gonna have to be a
no.
PG-13 version. Yes,
And
he
we tried
is.
that, and do you know how bad that fucking shit sucked? It was so bad that I'm pretty sure it lost money in the box office. They released it, lost money, and then they released it on DVD, and it went away. Like, you can't even find this DVD anymore. Like, they tried to bury it so quickly. It's
But what else
so
would you
bad.
what else do you want from them? They can't just make Secret Wars rated R, and they can't just make Spider-Man rated R. Would you rather not see the characters in it? No, don't make that. No, no, no. Don't make that face. They cannot make these movies rated R. They cannot.
God. It's just one of the things of like, okay, then put Daredevil in it. Like, Punisher is just such a hard R property, similar to Deadpool, where I'm like, put Daredevil in the place then. Okay, if it makes sense for the story for the Punisher to be there, sure. Make it make sense. Or have him show up, but don't have him fight. Like, I could easily believe, because Frank Castle is actually the one character in Born Again who I'm pretty sure doesn't like, other than like violence, he doesn't do anything that's like that rated R. Like, he has some really hard truth conversations with Matt, but that's it. Like, he doesn't really do anything. So have that version of Punisher be in that film. That's fine. But if you say
And I
you're
think
going to
that's
tone
what
him
we're gonna
back
get.
on violence, but like if you tone him back on violence and some of the uh, nature that the Punisher character has that you get to see in Born Again, which again, the reason I'm more a little apprehensive on this is because we just saw it. We just saw exactly what the Punisher is in this universe, and now you're going to backpedal and do this. It really just depends on if they're actually going to have any action with the Punisher, which
I mean,
obviously I think they will. I don't.
you have
I
to
doubt they would.
Punisher first appeared in a Spider-Man comic book. I can't remember the number. I think it was like 130 something, if I'm not mistaken. But the Punisher
Right.
originally started with Spider-Man. So now that we're going back to a street level Spider-Man, it only makes sense that another street level hero, or I guess vigilante, whatever you want to call Punisher, is going to be involved
Sure.
in this story. And I don't
Sure.
think Look, I'll give you Deadpool. I'm very apprehensive to see what they do with Deadpool in Secret Wars and how they make that make sense. Maybe it's just an unfortunate reality that he's not going to play a big role in that movie and he'll just make a few quips and that'll be it. That's probably the way
Right.
they're going to go about it, and it's probably the only way they can. I don't see this being that big of a loss to see a PG-13 Punisher in Dare.
It might not. It might not.
The type of story that you're gonna tell, because we've already gotten confirmation. I don't know if he's the big bad, but we're getting Mr.
No.
Negative, another really popular Spider-Man villain. I think the big bad is gonna be,
Yeah.
Scorpion, but we have Scorpion and Mr. Negative that are both gonna
Yeah.
be kind of the
I don't even
co-villain. I
know.
don't know.
Right. I don't even know if because I was getting ready to say that is Michael Mando is returning as
Correct. He is. That
Matt
has been
Gargan
confirmed.
Scorpion. I don't think he's gonna be the main villain. Also, because they just set him like okay at the end of Homecoming, they have that whole post credit scene. I've got some boys who might want to rough him up or whatever, this or that. I don't see ever there being a possibility that the Scorpion they set up in the MCU was going to be this big leading threat. At least with the Incredible Hulk, which again, that's a 15-year-old movie. Nobody ever thought they'd pay it off. At least the leader in Captain America 4 makes more sense as like a bigger bad because they do also kind of set that up in the Incredible Hulk. They don't really set that up in Homecoming. He's still just a lackey. He's still just this second place guy. Mr. Negative completely makes sense. I could easily see that being the lead villain and having Scorpion roped into that plot. Or maybe he's just in the beginning and he's the person that Spider-Man's fighting in that moment. You know,
Kinda like, what was it, Rhino in I can't remember which Spider-Man movie it was, shit, was it 2?
Amazing Spider-Man 2. Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it was Amazing Spider-Man 2, they open up with a fight that then gets wrapped
Right.
up and then leads into kinda like also like the video games. In the second video game, it was
Right.
Sandman or no, Sandman was the first or no, because it was Rhino in the first video game that he was fighting, and then the second one, it was Sandman is the first villain
Yes.
he faces off on that then leads
Yes.
into the bigger bad of that video game. Not really spoilers for that
Right.
video game because it's literally
No,
the
no, no.
first villain that you face,
It's
but
right.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like a I like the idea. First off, I love Michael Mando. He was fantastic in Better Call Saul. I think he was snubbed at the Emmys, Golden Globes, all of it. I thought he was incredible in that show. I'm excited to see him play this role again because for what little he was in Homecoming, he was convincing enough. He was just kind of this evil arms dealer guy, but he was convincing enough. Um, but I'm excited to see them do Scorpion live action because that's actually one character where it's like he's not like super in depth as far as I know. They probably have gone in depth, but I've never seen anything like super in depth about him. But Scorpion's just such like a cool character.
Yeah.
It's such a cool villain. I really have wanted to see them do him in live action for a while.
I mean, Scorpion in, Spider-Man Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, that was a great version of Scorpion that we got.
Right, right,
That was,
right.
in my opinion, probably the best on-screen version we've seen of Scorpion, at least in a while. So,
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting. I very much see them taking a different direction, obviously, with this version of Scorpion that we're gonna get in Brand New Day, but
sure.
with with everything that we've gotten from the plot so far, I'm very intrigued. The one thing that holds me up, again, is the Hulk. They didn't say Bruce Banner, they said the Hulk. Now, granted, with Professor Hulk, they're intrinsically tied now. You can't really separate them as much as you used to be able
Right,
to.
right.
So I guess that can make sense. But again, I guess one thing that is not complicating the situation, but everyone forgot that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. But
Yeah,
not people didn't forget about Spider-Man. It's just that they no longer know who's behind the mask. So
right,
Daredevil knew that Peter Parker, Hulk knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man because of the whole big reveal and everything like that. They still know
right,
about Spider-Man and all the things that he did. They just don't know that he is Peter Parker. At least that's the way that
right.
it was set up in that movie, at least to me.
Well, it's also that nobody just knows Peter Parker exists. Like
Yeah,
that
they
was the
basically
like people often
yeah.
people often forget that about the ending of No Way Home. It's not that they just forget Peter Parker as Spider-Man. No, they forget Peter Parker as a person entirely
Well, and this is where
to
I
a
think
certain
it gets
extent.
a little well, and I understand what you're saying, and I think this is where it gets a little complicated. My interpretation is not necessarily that they forget who Peter Parker is as a person. It's the fact that they forget all of their involvements that relate to Peter Parker and Spider-Man, which is why MJ, who gets close to Peter through the guise of Spider-Man, forgets who he is. But I guess then
Right.
again, they were friends before she found out he was Spider. I don't know. It gets a little complicated there, I guess. So we'll
They'll
probably
probably
find
address
out.
it because
Yeah, well, they
the other
definitely
casting
will.
announcement is that Ned Leeds and MJ are going to be in the film, which we knew that was going to be a thing, but I think it was to the extent of like what role are they playing in this film?
Yeah. Well, because
Where are they going?
there's been a lot of speculation that they're gonna get rid of MJ as the love interest and they're gonna replace her with Black Cat, which a lot of the fan casting has been saying Sydney Sweeney. I'm very curious to see
It's
if that
not.
actually happens.
It's not.
Um,
If it's anybody, it's Sadie Sink because she's the one who's been cast in the film in an unknown role. Nobody knows
okay.
who she is or what she's playing. But if Black Cat's anybody, it's more likely or not her. Um, I saw original reports when they were like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be a multiversal film again." Like people saying, "Oh yeah, Sadie Sink's probably gonna be playing the daughter of Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst." universe Spider-Man, I'm like, no, they're not going to do that. If it's
Yeah.
multiversal, they would do that, and that would suck. But I don't think that's what they're doing.
No, I very much, from all the reports and things, this is, and this is where I guess it gets a little complicated. It's going to be a street level Spider-Man, but the thing with a street level Spider-Man, even in the comic books, is it's still big enough threats. Like, you're not talking aliens, world-ending threats, but you're still talking about, like, a threat. Like, they're gonna do
Sure.
some damage. It's not just gonna be a, like, street level in the sense of this guy's robbing an ATM. So,
Yeah, look, there's a thing that I've been thinking about, especially with Spider-Man 4, and I've seen Marvel do it before, so I'm not like overly worried about it. But when you reach the highest highs that No Way Home did, it's a multiversal world-ending event, and a universe-ending event, mind you. It, is really hard when you go back down to a street level for people to be either as interested or to go, well, it's not this, like this, but that's different. No
yeah.
Way Home was a world-ending threat. Not everything has to be a world-ending threat, and I think, especially with comic book films that are released the way they are now today, you can't expect them to be that. So somebody complained I saw online about both Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts. They wish they ended differently,
Mhm.
because Sentry is putting all these people, or sorry, Void is putting all these people into the literal like void, uh, and basically killing all of these people. Somebody complained about how they wish they would have kept that. No, because then we have no resolution. Nothing happened. Like, what were you
Yeah,
expecting? They clearly can't beat him physically. They've seen that. Mentally, emotionally is the only way to go about that. If you're upset about that, whatever. I think that's stupid. I love
yeah.
the ending of the Thunderbolts.
Well,
Fantastic Four is the same way. I've seen people complain about Fantastic Four, and it's like, well, they beat Galactus too easily, and then spoilers for Fantastic Four, by the way. Sue's dead on the ground, and then the baby brings her back. Like, I swear to God, if they bring the Sue back through the baby, I'm like, no, but that sets up something in the future, and it makes sense. They also let it resonate and sit long enough to where you actively are like, okay, this is fine. Plus, they
yeah,
technically did kill her. Like, yeah, they brought her back.
yeah,
Nothing would have brought her back other than that kid. So it builds
correct.
intrigue.
Well, in one thing that I'll touch on before we get into the actual main topic, because I think we're pretty much getting the end of this conversation, is one thing that I hear a lot of people complain about is just the general idea of every movie has to be a world-ending threat. I'm not going to disagree with you that certain movies don't always have to be a world-ending threat. But thinking
Sure.
back through the repertoire of the MCU, the vast majority of movies are world-ending. I mean, okay, let's the example that I thought of that I think in my opinion is the perfect example for this is Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was a world-ending threat. Hydra was going to send the helicarriers up and literally kill millions upon millions of people. That is typically touted as one of the best Marvel movies. And it is a down to earth, not cosmic level entity. This is Captain America that we're talking about. Yes, he's the first Avenger. Yes, he's super strong.
Right.
His power is super strength in being a Chad. Let's be honest
Right.
here. Like, I love I
Yeah.
love Captain America as much as the next person, but he's just a Giga Chad with super strength in a frisbee. And
Right.
he can
Yes.
talk really well. He is stopping millions of people from dying. And no one had a problem
Yeah.
with that. But then the next movie comes out and it's a world-ending threat. And the next movie, and people are like, "Oh, why does every movie need to be a world-ending threat?" And it's like, because what other stakes are you going to set up? What else is going to okay, this one dude robbed an ATM and you want to say like that's not the guise of a superhero world in a way that makes sense for movies. Because I'm a big
Right.
proponent of don't make the movies a level that is going to be world ending. If you want that though, go to the TV shows. Watch something like a
Yes.
Daredevil Born Again. Watch something like an Echo. Watch something like a Hawkeye. Those aren't world ending threats. That's where you see these smaller, non cosmic level beings actually handling
Right.
street level things. That's where you
Right.
can get that. The only exception would be something like Loki and I guess WandaVision, but even something like Agatha. Like that was
Agatha.
big, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't consider that world ending.
I also don't really even see the threat being like that was more of a personal conflict rather than a
Yeah,
world-ending worldly conflict. Like nothing was
yeah, and
really, and
same with
maybe you
WandaVision
could say that that's
even.
part of the problem. I doubt it, but like that's how I see it. Like
Yeah,
even WandaVision. Like WandaVision had a small town. It really wasn't expanding beyond that. It was never going to expand beyond that. Um, like Wanda wasn't after taking over the world. Even Agatha, I don't think Agatha's like whole point was taking over the world. She just wanted the Darkhold. She wanted the power of the witches.
yeah,
That's it. She just wants power. Like there wasn't any reason behind why. It's not like they were saying, "Oh, this is going to take over the world with this." Like I'm pretty sure that's not what you're doing.
yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. I do.
Yeah. But with all that being said, what's up, Nimrods? It's your boys back with episode 22 of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. I am your host for today's episode, Brandon, aka Parrotfish, here with my forever, I'm pointing to the wrong direction, here with my forever co hosts.
Carson, aka Juggernaut.
And in this week's episode, we have two, count them, two reviews for you. Back to two show review. We have Twisted Metal, technically season 1 and the first 3 episodes of season 2, which have released on Peacock, as well as the newest Marvel project, Eyes of Wakanda, an animated series that is made and produced by Ryan Coogler, who made the first 2 Black Panther movies. And yeah, that's gonna be, I think, in my opinion, we'll probably start with Twisted Metal and then move into Eyes of Wakanda, unless you have any idea, unless you have anything against that.
I have nothing against those plans. Please do what you like.
Sounds good. But Carson, as always, before we get into that, and before I ask you the question that I always ask you, I have one thing to say first. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, brother. I know it was a few
Yeah.
days ago, but happy birthday.
Yeah. It's exciting. 22 years old, 1 year closer to death. Let's keep this train moving.
Oh, shut up. 22. I mean, to be fair,
Eh,
I'm gonna turn 23 in 10 days, so
yeah, we're not even gonna talk about that.
no. Um,
I get more excited for everybody else's birthday, but then when it's mine now, I'm just like, oh God,
that's
why do I
fair.
have to keep getting
Yeah,
old?
I
What's
I I
happening?
literally yeah, I was literally at a different friend, everyone's born in August, I don't know what it is. I was at another friend's birthday party yesterday, and it's crazy, but how are you feeling? How's it going?
I'm hanging in there, you know. It's been a very lovely weekend. We had SummerSlam this weekend. We had another event tonight, which I'm gonna for night two. It's exciting. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I mean, no, I had some friends over last night and we were losing our mind at the ending of that. For context, Brandon, do you know you know what a work is? You know how working the audience or working people works. Well, there was this
Yeah.
guy named Seth Rollins who about maybe just under a month ago tore his ACL again
Mm,
because he did so 10 years ago. And he didn't show back up. Everybody's saying like he's at the doctor's, he's getting everything fixed up, whatever. And even on Instagram and Snapchat and whatnot, he's walking around on crutches celebrating his daughter's birthday or something. I don't know what exactly he was doing, but
yeah.
every post, everywhere, social media, this, that is on crutches. And then at the end of the night, walks out
Faked
with his
it?
crutches. He walks out with his crutches. He's holding like this big money in the bank contract, which basically allows him to do any match he wants. And then he turns around and he stands there for a second. Everybody's like, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. No, drops the crutches, turns around and starts beating up CM Punk. And I know that like it's just the most wacky, wackadoo thing ever. But it was so hype because everybody's sitting there like, oh my God, he's not actually injured. For about a month, he's been leading people on. It's insane. Oh God, I shot out of my chair. I was so excited. Yesterday was awesome. But that's been going on the past 2 days. I'm excited. How are things going with you? How are you doing, brother?
I can't complain. It's been August is going to be a very, very crazy month for me, as we've talked about before. I am going to 2 different conventions. I will be at Otakon up here in DC, and then I will be going to Anime NYC 2 weeks later. So if you're there, love chatting with people, would be very nice. Very, very excited for those conventions. I also have to work one weekend. It's gonna be a very busy month, so
Woohoo!
I'm kinda just enjoying the little bit of downtime before I get into that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I get you. Oh boy. Are we ready for this? Are we ready to get into this?
Yeah. So, as I stated, I'm going to give this right now. This is going to be your one and only spoiler warning for both Twisted Metal Season 1 and Season 2 and Eyes of Wakanda. We do not personally do non spoiler reviews. It's just not something that we really see the need in. We just like getting straight into the details. So, if you have not seen either one of those things, I have not been putting timestamps on the podcast recently. I need to start doing that so you can look in the timestamps. I'll do it for this episode and then I'll retroactively go back and try and get them done for the other episodes. But you should be able to switch around if you want to only see Eyes of Wakanda or you only want to see Twisted Metal just to avoid spoilers. But again, this is your one and only spoiler warning. Anyways, now that that is out of the way, Carson, you can say, here's the thing. You can either say your thoughts on Twisted Metal Season 1 and your thoughts on Twisted Metal Season 2. You can think of just Twisted Metal as a whole. However you want to do it, that is up to you. Just make sure to specify what you're talking about, and I'll go ahead and kick it. I am, before, I guess, sorry, but cut you off before you say that. I am very intrigued as to what you are about to say and the words that are about to come out of your mouth.
Yeah. So I don't have much history with Twisted Metal as far as like a video game and whatnot. Like I know what it is. I've seen
Yeah.
gameplay of it. Um, I've never like watched a full walkthrough of it, but I've seen various people play like different bits of it and whatnot. So I know it well enough to understand the concept and know what it is. That being said, I even remember back in 2021, I think is when it was, when they announced they were making the show going, oh, and Anthony Mackie, really? Oh, we're gonna. Oh, okay. I guess. Yeah, I guess the show is fine. Sure, why not? I didn't really have any like special attachment to it when they announced it, and so I also never rushed to watch it. That's why we're watching this now, because I'm like,
Yeah.
I just never had a reason to rush and go to it. That being said, I think that this is a perfectly fine video game adaptation. It's not anywhere on the highest level that Last of Us is. It's not like that good of like hold on, let me specify that. Last of Us season 1, it's not Last of Us season 1 level good. But for what this show is, it is a ton of fun and you can have a ton of fun with it. I think that there is some comedy to be enjoyed. Um Anthony Mackie does a pretty good job as the leading man of John Doe. He's perfectly likable. He knows how to make a quip and a joke every now and again. He's done MCU for so long now that he knows his way around it. But he does really good. And then Stephanie Beatriz is like the only thing where I'm like, that's very different from. It's very different from anything she's really done that I've seen her do. And so, like, it's kinda hard for me to shake that, and I still don't know how I feel about that because I was fine with her in this. I could have taken her or leaving her as just, like, a character, and the way she performed it, it was okay. It's not bad, I just thought it was okay. Um, my favorite character, and somebody I really hope to cosplay as some one day, Sweet Tooth.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
God.
You hinted that. You hinted that at before we started recording. You mentioned something about a character that you wanted to start cosplaying as. The second you said that, I was like, "There's only one character that I could see Carson personally like connecting with and really getting into." I knew it was gonna be Sweet Tooth.
It's sweet. No, holy shit, though. What a fucking violent character. He's so
Yeah.
brutal. He's so cool. It's just the clown mask. It's so funny. Um, it's such an interesting character. First off, voiced by Will Arnett. He's not obviously not the body type of Will Arnett, but it's got that Will Arnett, style voice, and it's really really good. Um, Sweet Tooth came out as one of my favorite characters. I think overall, it's like the story itself. It's fine. It's somewhat generic. It's very much episode to episode. Sometimes it might feel like filler, but it's fun filler. Um, Ultimately, I didn't really feel like, because I even had texted Brandon earlier in the week. It took me a very hot second to get connected to this show in any sense. And I still don't feel like I'm like emotionally there. I'm not emotionally into it. But by the end of season 1, I had enough, especially when it came to John Doe's character, where I was like, okay, I can definitely go forward into season 2. And I think season 1, where it is, it's perfectly fine. It's not anything, super fancy. It's really just fine. It's fun. You can have a great time watching it. Season 2 is a whole different ballpark. They have a very straightforward story. I like what they're going for with season 2. It's a bit more fun, and I feel like they also had a bit more of a budget going into season 2, so it
Oh
really
yeah,
does show. Um, I always get his name wrong, but Anthony Carrigan, who I've seen in shows like Barry. He was just in the new Superman movie as Metamorpho. Um, Great actor. I love him here. He's really, really good. The actual concept for season 2, it's just funny because like season 1 is fun. Season 2 is a lot more like what the games are. It's just like, oh, okay. It took a whole season, and that season was basically 2 years ago, but we're here. We finally got to what the essence of the actual game is at times. You know,
yeah,
um, it's just it's really funny that it took them that long to get there. But I'm more into season 2 because of that. Again, the only real complaint so far that I have with the first few episodes, and this is why like I have a hard time grading episodes as they come out unless it's like very specific, like Last of Us. Even Last of Us, I had a hard time. I don't feel the same way
yeah.
about Last of Us
Well,
as we were doing episode reviews that I do at the end.
yeah,
With these first few episodes, I kind of sit here and go, I don't know how I'm gonna feel by the end of this. Like I like it now, but just like how season 1 started, where I didn't really like it that much, and it ended much higher. Like it could be the opposite effect here. I really don't know. Um, but as a whole, Twisted Metal, like if you're a fan of the games, watch it. You're gonna really enjoy it. It's not anywhere near Last of Us Heights, season 1 Heights, but it's also not anywhere near Halo, the TV show Halo, low of lows. If you've seen that show, you know how bad it really is. Um, but overall, it's just a fun time, and you can have a really fun time with it. The cast is great. I'll definitely go deeper into it. But Brandon, tell me quickly, what are your first thoughts on Twisted Metal?
yeah. So, quick history. I also have never played the games. I honestly have basically no idea what the games are like whatsoever. I heard about this show back when they originally announced it because of some video game podcasts that I listened to. They were talking about it. They were big Twisted Metal fans, and so when season 2 got announced and we had the podcast, I was like, you know what? Let's check it out. I'm curious. I told Carson, I was like, look, one, we have some downtime between movies, and second, like, I don't know, it could be interesting. Um, and Carson, I fucking love this show.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Dude, I okay, first episode I did not like. I think it was a pretty bad episode. It did not get you engaged whatsoever for me personally. When I watched that first
Sure.
episode, I was actively thinking to myself, "Oh shit, what did I just agree for me and Carson to get into reviewing?" It was kind of similar to what
Right.
you were telling me on the phone when we were talking. Like, we didn't talk about our full thoughts, but I kind of picked up that you weren't super high on it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was at that point though, I had already gotten like 7 episodes in because after I got past that first episode, I could not stop watching this show. There was one night I watched 5 episodes. I was up until
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning binging this show. I could not get enough of it. Okay, it is a very poorly produced show. Visually looks
Oh.
like
Oh yeah.
dog shit.
Oh. Oh
Acting,
my God.
other than the main cast, the acting is atrocious. The cinematography, atrocious. It is all bad. That being said, I think that badness of the effects and of the cinematography and of the acting only sought to make me enjoy it so much more. The second I saw the
Yep.
full Sweet Tooth episode, which was episode 2, it locked me in so goddamn fast. He engaged me immediately. And from that point forward, I was immediately engaged. I laughed so hard. This is one of
Yep.
the funniest shows I've seen in a while, both intentionally and unintentionally. It is one
Yep.
of my favorite video game adaptations of all time, just from a pure I enjoy watching this so much standpoint. And it did. I know you said the story was a little bit generic, and I'm not going to necessarily fully argue against that, but I was actually surprised by how engaged certain elements of the story had me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
getting
Sure.
more information about Quiet and her revenge trip, and obviously Anthony Mackie's character John Doe, and the nature of him being a milkman and wanting to be inside and things of that nature. I loved their
Sure.
relationship dynamic. This is one of my favorite Anthony Mackie performances I've ever seen. I
Yes.
still think
Yes.
that him as Falcon is number one, but this is up there just from a pure comedic standpoint, from a pure like he felt like he is having so much fun with this role. Like he wanted to be there. Like he didn't phone this in whatsoever. And Stephanie Beatrice is someone who I first got introduced to her through one of my favorite, probably my favorite comedy of all time, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And she
Yeah.
plays the character of Rosa Diaz, a very hard-faced, like no bullshit character. Quiet in the beginning is very reminiscent to a like Rosa Diaz. She's very closed off,
Right.
she's very quiet, she's very hard ass. And then as the story progresses, we see her open up more and more as she grows closer to John Doe. And we'll get more into that when we get a little bit into our back and forth. But again, just like Anthony Mackie, it just felt like she wanted to be there. Like you can tell when someone doesn't want to be there. She felt like she was
Sure.
having fun with the script and enjoying
Sure.
the production of this. And then quickly talking about a little bit of my thoughts on season 2 so far with those first 3 episodes. First of all, they upped the budget tenfold. In the previous
Yes.
season, when I talk about how bad the production is, I'm pretty sure there was only one scene with a real goddamn car in that entire fucking season. In
Yep.
season 2,
Yep.
it's all real cars. The shots are
It's
a
all
lot
practical.
better.
Yeah.
The world feels real. Even the color grading is better. Like everything just feels so much better produced. The plot
Right.
engages you immediately. There is one thing that I hate, and we'll get into it about what they've done with season 2. You'll probably understand what I'm talking about when we get into our back and forth, but I genuinely am really annoyed, and it threw me so off and actually kind of took me out of the show for a second for those first 3
Sure.
episodes of season 2, but I'll save that for when we get to our back and forth. But yeah, overall thoughts, I loved it. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, but oh my god, if you want to turn your brain off and have some fucking fun, this is the show for you. It is hyper violent, it is hyper
Yeah.
hilarious, and it is just insane antics.
Funny enough, I feel like honestly, Twisted Metal is what Borderlands tried to be. Like, you remember how
Yeah.
bad Borderlands was when that came out?
I never saw the
I
movie
feel
because
like,
I saw the ratings and immediately was like, I'm not wasting my time.
again, I have the pass, so I didn't care. So I went and watched it and walked out about 30 minutes into the film. It was really bad. Uh, I immediately turned out of that theater. But like, this is exactly what Borderlands, like, this film is not afraid, even though it doesn't look visually the most appealing sometimes, maybe it's not the best acted sometimes, it's not afraid to escape into the world of the game like Borderlands did, but does it much, much better. And you're actually able to
Yeah.
sit and have fun with this, and you're not bored the entire time. Say from like, the occasional episode 1 where it's probably the worst start to a season because you don't know what's happening. They do it very, very well. And I do give credit where credit's due when it comes to something like that, because you can tell that the people behind this project are not just having fun, but they're either fans or they're people who really care about the source material in which it came from. And so I do see that and I do appreciate that. But yeah, season 2 so far is on a better trajectory. I don't really have much to say on season 2 because, again, we only have so little.
Yeah.
I'd
So let's
rather
let's
really talk about it when we have like a fuller
yeah.
scope, but let's do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, so let's start there, and then we'll go back to season 1 because I do have some things that I really want to touch on season 1 specifically, the specific elements that I really enjoyed. But my problem with season 1, and it might seem minor, but to me it's a really, really major thing that took me out of the show, was Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth in
Yeah,
season 2,
yeah,
it makes absolutely no sense. The reason why I say that is not because I thought Sweet Tooth was dead by any means. I knew Sweet Tooth was gonna come back, but specifically with God, what the fuck is that character's name? With Stu.
Stu, yeah,
Stu ran away with his best friend at the end of the last episode after running over Sweet Tooth. And then the first time we see them, the best friend is nowhere to be seen. There's no mention of it. And immediately you jump into Stu and Sweet Tooth being best friends again. That to me
sure,
made no sense. Mainly because I was really excited for the character progression that we were getting with Stu. I thought that we were going to revisit Stu and Sweet Tooth and probably a cat and mouse chase. And I was really excited to see where they took that because of the way that Stu left off with Sweet Tooth. All of that got thrown out the door. Now, I don't know why, and maybe there is a big controversy as to why, but that made no sense. And it genuinely kind of like, I enjoyed the little bit that we got with Sweet Tooth. And again, Stu is, because again, one of the big things with Stu is he was such a terrified character. He didn't want to harm people, he didn't want to do anything negative. The first thing we see
Right.
him do is stabbing people. And we get no justification to that. Again,
Well, and
with
you could
Sweet Tooth and things like that, but
right.
doesn't feel justified. To me, with the way that we left him off at the end of season 1, where we see Stu and Sweet Tooth feels not justified. And I know you can I just talked about how goofy and silly and all over the you still need to have some consistency, and they do with every other character except for this plot point, which kind of to me disappointed
Well,
me because of I really enjoyed their progression in season 1.
I don't disagree with you. I do think it was a bit more abrupt than it like if they had actually like given us more logistic of a reason for him doing these things. My only counter to it is I could see where the filmmakers or the showrunners thought we're having this change because this is where he started and this is where he is now. And you're wanting to show that progression of how he was just a scared person, didn't even want to pretty much take a life, going to yeah, I'm just gonna stab this person now. And it's just showing. It's showing how far a character grows. But I do agree with you because that was also going to be like one of my only complaints was that it just doesn't show it very well, and
Yeah.
that does tend to unfortunately happen with shows like this because they focus on other things in a season 2 than the consistency of something like that. Especially because at the end of the day, like as much as I love Stu as a character, and I no idea if Stu's in the game. I don't know if he's a made up character for the show at all. Stu is not personally one of my favorite characters. He's good, but he's not one of my favorite characters. He fits the bill for exactly what he's supposed to do.
Hmm.
And so I don't necessarily care all that much when it's that abrupt, but also at the same time, like you said, it is something that should be addressed
Yeah.
because it's showing I don't want to say it's showing laziness, but it's showing the effect
It shows
of,
a
a
lack of
season 1
care
to
for the
season 2.
continuity. For me, it shows a lack of care for the continuity. Because here's the thing.
Right.
Every other character stays consistent. Like we hit a 7-month gap. And yes, you can argue that a lot happens in 7 months. And here's the thing. Maybe I'm talking all this now, and then we're gonna get a huge flashback that explains everything later on. If that
Sure.
happens and I'm happy with that flashback, I will take back what I am saying now. I unfortunately do not think we're going to get that. So that is why I'm so upset right now about it because I really
Sure.
did enjoy that element of last season of seeing where we introduced to Sweet Tooth in episode 2 to meeting Stu and their relationship and Stu's character progression. Again, generic, but
Sure.
to me it was hilariously engaging. Um
Right.
but yeah,
I I do think that because again, I keep talking about how I do think season 2 is off to a better start than season 1 was. Like you already mentioned, the visuals are much
yeah,
better. I think there's a lot more practical in season 2 than they had in the first
correct.
season. Like it wasn't like they just, filmed in this big blue box and then filled everything in digitally. Like it actually seems like everything's not everything's practical, but there's a lot more practical than what they had. Which practical is always better in a film. So you know that's gonna be better. Um, that's a major plus. I think the writing got like a slight upgrade. I don't think they changed writers or there wasn't any like addition. I think the writers just got better or more comfortable with the material and the characters they were writing with. The writing seemed a little better than it
Well,
did.
because they introduced an entirely new like heart to the show. In the previous season, the heart
Yes.
to the show was Quiet and John Doe's relationship. Now we have John
Yes.
Doe's sister who's been introduced, and her, I guess, not being polar opposites to John, but having a very different driving force to her like purpose in life. And she wants to tear down the wall, she wants all these things. And John's just kind of like, hey, I want to take quiet, I want to go to this cabin, and I want to relax for the rest of my life. And
Right.
Quiet previously, from what we got of her character, would have wanted to do that. But now John kind of feels some sort of animosity towards his sister, which is making it one of the things that's making it harder for him to connect with her is he feels that his sister is brainwashing Quiet. And now Quiet is, oh, down with the aristocracy, down with the walls, everything like that, which it isn't a 180. It makes sense for her character progression, but John feels like it's a brainwashing of someone that he cares about. And that writing is a lot more deep than anything that we got in season one.
So, and here's what I will say, and this is, I know this is kind of alluding more to season one, but I kind of have to mention it here to like just say where I kind of stand. This is another thing about season two where it's, I get past it because I'm having fun with it. At the end of the day, I don't fully believe Quiet and John's relationship that much. I can see it being there. However, I do think it comes off more as a forced because this has to happen so that this can happen type of thing. If other people believe in it, good for you. It's just something that I don't believe this relationship as well as I do others. They definitely could have taken more time to think it through and actually like, kind of make us care more. You might be completely different. You might feel a lot more for it. I think it's fine for the type of show that is because it's a fun show. That's what you're supposed to have fun with a show like Twisted Metal. But that being said, if you're going, especially with something like season one, where you're literally basically with these two characters the entire time, you are sitting with these two characters, except for the I think one out of the few episodes, one out of the entire
10
9 episodes of
episodes.
the season one yeah, one out of the 10 episodes that season one has, they actually separate so that Qui can go off on that little revenge moment
Yeah.
with the car and whatnot. Other than that, they're together the entire time, and it's just for me, it's like a thing of like, you mean to tell me that in that entire span of time in which you have them together, you don't really make me feel anything about it? It's just kind of a shame and it feels like a waste. And it feels better here, but that's also because I've kind of just made my peace with it. And season two's here and we're just kind of going with it. But I've just kind of made my peace with it at this point. Um,
I mean,
but
my
I
thing with that is their relationship has always been kind of a relationship of convenience. Yes, they had a connection, but again, they were only together 10 days and they built this entire relationship. But something that even Quiet mentions when they reunite, and I believe John's sister mentions, is she's been with these girls for roughly 7 months. John
right,
and Quiet knew each other for 10 days. That is a very different thing. And that's why, for me, it makes sense why the relationship is so back and forth all over the place because they've barely known each other. They were basically bang bros out of convenience, and then they
right,
started to develop an emotional connection. Because again, until they banged in the ball pit, which was honestly just kind of hilarious, you really didn't get all that much character development. It was just Quiet being quiet and John being like annoying to her. And then after that moment, they open up to each other and they get a lot closer and things like that. Um, and then after that, Quiet still wants to go on her revenge trip. Like, there's no change to her character because, again, you're not going to get a giant character development in 1 day, let alone 10
right.
days.
Yes, yes.
So while
But
I
I don't
understand
know.
what you're saying, I'm just more forgiving on it because, again, 10 days, especially versus the 7 months that they've been apart more than they've been together. Like,
Well, no, and I'm more forgiving of it. I'm just not forgiving of it in the same sense that you are. I'm forgiving it of it in the sense of this is the type of show that Twisted Metal like is. It's. I'm not saying but it is. It's wacky. It's zany. It's whatever word you want to throw at it. It's fun. It's a great time. It's a turn your brain off and enjoy type show. I'm okay with that relationship being here if that's what's going to be. But if you want to be like an actual TV show, so something like Last of Us, and I know it's kind of an unfair comparison because Last of Us, even before it was a show, had an amazing story with an amazing amount of heart and character to it. But something like Last of Us is that you have these building moments, the building blocks. You feel the connection between each and every single one of the characters in that show. Uh, okay, actually, let's use this example. The first 30 minutes of the Last of Us TV show, you get connected to Joel and his daughter, and then his daughter dies because she is
yeah.
shot by a Fedra soldier. Or it might just be Army. I don't know if Fedra's around then. That's a different story.
It
That's
wasn't
my
Fedra, it was
ADHD
just
running off.
Army because this was the day of
That
the falling, yeah.
that's my ADHD running off. Like, it might be a Fedra soldier. Never mind. Let's talk about this later. you know, but here it's not the same thing. And again, I'm more forgiving of it in that sense, whereas you're more forgiving of it because you're trying to explain it away. And I've kind of done with the fact of like, okay, this is just what it is. I accept that because this is the
Yeah,
type of show that it is, and I'm having a fun time watching it. So who really cares? Um, but I would definitely not classify this as a, relationship for the ages. This isn't the
yeah,
next Joni and Chachi from Happy Days. Even that's actually a horrible example because that was a sitcom from like the 70s.
yeah,
Horrible example. But you get what I mean. Like, it's not going to be anything popular. It might even at times be forgettable. But again, going back to season 2, because that's specifically what we're talking about in this moment, that's it creates such a disconnect for me in season 2 because of the missed opportunities they had in season 1. So
yeah. Well, and one thing that we can do if you want to is we can, like, instead of just doing, like, season 2, season 1, we can just talk about some, like, because I just wanna talk honestly, I just wanna talk about some of my favorite moments. One of
go
my
ahead,
favorite
please
moments
share.
from season 2, dude, the guy with the tire hands, when he came on screen, that is one of the coolest it was so cool. I saw that and I was like, "Oh, I'm so locked in for this." It was so I don't know. The design of it was really dope, but then the guy just being kinda like it was like they throw his, like, the engineer out the window and he dies, and then they're like, "Hey, we killed him." And he's like, "Ah, chill. I didn't like that guy anyway." And then just kinda runs away, and I was like, "Okay, this is great. I love this." It was so funny. Another thing that was also from season 2, when they've introduced obviously the big tournament, a big thing that they're doing is they're introducing a lot of the different characters that I'm assuming are going to be involved in this tournament. And another one of those characters, I don't know his name, is the guy on the motorcycle with the mask. One thing that I
Right.
found so so funny. This is one of my favorite jokes in the entire show was one of the first times we see him, it looks like he's sucking the soul out of a person. And I
Oh,
literally am
sure.
sitting there going like, "Oh shit, are they about to introduce like magic and mysticism in it?" No, he's just crazy. When we see Quiet and the new girl in the car looking at him, and he's just standing there with his arm out, like, I lost it, dude. I found
That
that so funny.
that was one of those moments where I just sat there and gave an audible, "What the fuck?" Like, that was probably my genuine reaction because I didn't know like, I had the same thing. It was like, "Oh, they're building something." They're like, "Wait, oh my god, no, he's just, like, mentally insane. What the heck?"
Yup,
Um,
yup.
some of my favorite moments, funny enough, like, there were a lot of moments where in the actual show, in the world, I had, and I'll get to those in a second. But some of my favorite moments in the show were just like looking around and going, that's a celebrity cameo. What are they doing here? Like, it started off in episode 1 with Nev Campbell, who's the lead in the Scream franchise, is one of the most popular Scream queens ever. And all of a sudden, she pops up in here as Raven, and I'm like, what is Nev Campbell doing in this show? You could have put anybody in, and you paid Nev Campbell so much money for a 2-episode arc, and it's not even that important. You could have put anybody in there and it would have worked. Like I said, I didn't even realize it was Will Arnett's voice until I saw it in like the credits later. I'm like, oh my god. Of course they put Will Arnett's voice in Sweet Tooth. That just makes that character so much better. Tamus Hayden Church, or I think I said his name right. Thomas Hayden Church. I said Tamus, didn't I? Why did I say
Yes,
Tamus?
you
Thomas
did.
Hayden Church, who plays Sandman in Spider-Man 3, and he's returning, and he returned in Spider-Man No Way Home, plays Agent Stone. Who,
Yeah,
that character's fine, whatever. He's a villain for the sake of being a villain. He's fine.
yeah. It
But
was
I'm
one of those like comically evil characters.
but no, I do remember sitting there going, "Is that Sandman? Why is Sandman here? Like, it's just it's some of like the like breaking fourth wall moments that I'm also having with the show. I'm like, why is this person here? How did we get to this? I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just it's funny. Most of my favorite moments in the show did involve Sweet Tooth. I love the first the, the performing of the show as he kidnaps Quiet and John. I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god. That was the first moment where I went, I know I'm watching a good show. I know I'm gonna have fun with the show because this character exists. I
Well,
love the
because
any of the moments when he's driving the car and he's just like shouting and he's just Stu's in the back freaking out. It's so funny.
yeah, well, because with his introduction that he's introduced in the casino, and it's there you build up to this big performance that no one survives through. And then it's just him repeating the like information from the hotel TVs. And then John is like, "Oh, I loved it." And then Quiet's like, "It sucked." And Sweet Tooth is like, "Oh, thank God. Thank you for being so honest." And you're like, "Oh, this is golden material right here." Like I was like
Oh my
I was like,
god.
I'm so into this. This is just
It's
like it's
I
so
don't know.
ridiculous, but it's just one of those things you cannot help but laugh.
You cannot help but smile. Now, again, if my father sat down and watched this whole scene, he might not even break like a smile. He might actively sit on his phone and just doom scroll on like TikTok or something, or he might even like just like fall asleep on the couch. However, for me, that was funny as crap.
Yeah.
Oh my god, but like I cannot say that enough. Everything with Sweet Tooth they've done right. Like it just works. It's so funny. Even in season 2, I know that it's more of a stew problem. Sweet Tooth, beautiful. Great job. Thank you for making him a funny character who you can relate with just because he's funny, you know?
Yeah. Well, in Sweet Tooth introduces one of the actually I think the most unbelievably insane characters I have ever seen on screen. And I wonder if you
Sure.
can guess who I'm talking about. It's not Sweet Tooth, but he is involved in this. It is in season 2, so that should make it pretty easy. Who do you think I'm referring to?
Uh who do I think you're referring to?
Yeah. A character when introduced and we get the full breadth of who they are, I didn't even know what to think when we got the reveal of it.
Uh
Okay, I'll
I,
give you
I,
2
I'm
more seconds.
I'm like blanking here because I'm just like straight up tired. I can't even think. Jeez.
So, one of the things with Sweet Tooth right now is he wants to be known as the best killer in everywhere. And
Yeah.
so one of or the first killer that we go see is a character named
Oh.
Baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember this now. Jeez.
When we get introduced
Jesus.
to the character of Baby, we see a guy step out of a car. And Carson, do you want to tell the people what this man is wielding as his weapon?
I don't even like I don't feel comfortable saying it.
He's
Don't make me
wielding his
no, I
umbilical cord as a
I'm
mace. When
this is
I
not
saw that
no.
on screen, I don't think I've never I don't even know how to describe the reaction in the feeling that washed
This is
over me. It was
this
one
is
of
not where I expected you to go.
insane things I've ever seen put to screen. It was the it what the fuck was that, Carson?
This is not where I was expecting you to go when you said, "Oh yeah, I really got excited when I got introduced by this through Sweet Tooth." I'm like, I
I
did
didn't
not
say
expect
excited.
this
I
to
did
be.
not say excited. I said we were introduced to one of the most insane characters I've ever seen put to screen.
So, this is actually a good thing to talk about because this show kind of reminds me of another show that I watched. I watched this first of all, I watched this years ago. Like this is like
Mhm.
2019. It ended in 2018 and I watched it for the first time in 2019. But that's a show called Ash versus Evil Dead, which is a show that follows in the Evil Dead franchise, which is equally as ridiculous as Twisted Metal, if not sometimes a little more, and it goes even further with the gore. It's a comedy, but it's really really stupid. Like you have these random moments with characters similar to this show where it's just like, what the fuck? Who are these people? Why are they designed like that? Why does that guy not have pants on? And why does this character have like it's just strange. That being said, you know, Ash vs. Evil Dead also has like similar runtimes. Like it has 10 episodes each season, but it also is only like, other than the first episode of the first season, it's only like 25-30 minutes each episode. It's relatively short. And like Twisted
Yeah.
Metal, you could binge this easily in just a day and easily watch it. You know, so it's it's moments like that when you see a character step out and they are holding, I can't even say it. I don't want to say it, but I'm
Yep.
just because I don't want to say it, I'm just gonna say a mace, and we're gonna go with that because that makes the most sense for me right now. Uh, it elevates the show to a whole different level of just what is happening and what am I watching. But you
One
love it for that. You
one thing I want to
absolutely
note
love it.
One thing I want to note that I think makes this so much funnier to me is the fact that we have to remember the world only fell, what, 10 years ago? This man is clearly in his 30s or 40s. That means this man was like this before the world fell. This man was walking around the real world like
I
this.
I'd like to believe what happened is he was just mid surgery and they told him how much the bill was. He's like, nope, never mind. I'm good. Just give me what I've got and I'm going to leave. Thank you. And
It
he's just kind of like stuck like that.
it just makes it so much more insane. But moving off of that, because I know it makes you uncomfortable and it makes me very, very funny.
I
Um,
was uncomfortable watching it. Yes, it makes me uncomfortable.
one of the other things that I think was just genuinely a really cool idea, like genuinely, I was like, oh, that's kind of like actually dope, was the society built in semi trucks. When I saw
Yeah.
that, I was like,
Yeah.
that's actually such like if you want to think about like the whole idea is this is a very dangerous world. You kind of have to stay on the move. That's the reason why everyone drives around so much is because you have to stay on the move because everything's so dangerous. If you stay in one place too long, the vultures are going to find you and pick the scraps. That's kind of the idea. And so
Sure.
we're introduced to a society mainly geared towards the milkmen that are on wheels, and it is just
Yeah.
really cool. The way that they have it built out, the way that they utilize multiple different semi trucks and how they're kitted out and defended, and that was really cool. It's unfortunate that at the end of the last episode, they all got destroyed, and I have a feeling they are going to come back in this tournament because they want revenge for what happened. But
Sure. Right.
that and because they want a wish and it'll probably have to do with something related to their semi trucks or something of that nature. But like,
Well,
I
and
don't know.
something
When I
kind of
saw that,
unrelated.
I was like, that's dope.
Right. And something kind of unrelated, but also just like not because this is what I meant when I originally said my initial thoughts were it's like some episodes feel like filler, but they're also not at the same time because they're really, really well done for the most part, and you're having fun with it. Is the episode whenever John and Quiet set off to find the doctor to get what they think is just like, oh, this medicine to heal the old leader. I don't even remember like what the
Yeah,
actual
the old lady that
term
leads
was.
that whole thing. Yeah.
I don't even know if it's leader. I don't know if there's actually a correct term for it or whatnot. I don't even remember. But when they set off, they do that whole bit. They come back and then they find out it's, just it's poison. Like she's trying to kill herself, but it was like the most painless way for her to go. She couldn't keep
Yeah.
living or whatever. Like you. And
Yeah. She was
so
terminal. It wasn't going to last any longer and she wanted to go out on her own terms. Yeah.
that whole episode started off as filler, and it still is filler, but it became more interesting at the end whenever they added that to it because you're like, oh, I didn't expect them to actually go off and do that. Like, that's a
Yeah.
really cool thing. And so there's moments like that in the show where I'm just like, that's actually a really cool idea. You still made it a filler episode, but at least you made it kind of more worth it by subverting my expectations in a way where I'm like, that's actually really interesting. Thank you for doing that. And again, like
Yeah.
I don't really have much to say about the show beyond and there's more moments we could talk about. We have so many just fun, stupid moments that
I
we
mean,
could go on hours and hours for.
with that
But
plot
it
line, you have the hilarious
yeah.
moment of the Viking funeral that they give her where they just blow her the fuck up.
They blow her up in the car. I yet again another moment where I audibly went, "What the hell? What is
Yep.
this?" And
Yep.
it's so funny because you're sitting there and you're like, "What's gonna happen?" Oh god! Oh my god! They just blew her up in a car. Okay, yeah, sure, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
um, but again, there's just so many moments and episodes in this show where you just oddly laugh. You have such a fun time with it. And I do think that as the weeks go on and as we get more episodes of season 2 and this, and I do think it'll be renewed for season 3. I would very much doubt that it gets canceled or whatever. This is getting
Yeah.
renewed for season 3. I really strongly think that if they stay on the path they do, but if they find a way to add more heart and character to it, this at the end of the day could be a very, very fantastic show. Instead of just being a show where it's like, that's really fun, but I'm not really going to put it up there as, oh, this is the greatest of all time, or this is like the best here in this category. It's just a very fun video game adaptation. That being said, I had more fun with it than I did the Mario movie, and I think the Mario movie is perfectly fine. I don't think there's anything
Yeah.
absurdly wrong with it. I just know they could have done more with it. And it's the same here. I do think that Twisted Metal's better though. Um,
Yeah. I
and so
I yeah, I agree with you there. I think this is just such a unwieldingly fun show with unexpected moments of heart.
heart, just laughter and it just it's absurdity. It is
Yeah.
literally absurdity. Um, and again, I wish I could say that, you know, I feel like they're gonna stop with the absurdity, or I wish that I like every time there's an absurd moment, I'm like, oh, it can't get any worse than that, right? Right.
It's
It's
only
one of those
gotten
things.
more absurd. We've had 3 episodes of this season so far, and I think we've had some of the most absurd actually, we have. In those 3 episodes we've gotten, the most absurd moments of the entire show have come out of those 3 episodes. The guy who is crazy and sucking souls out of
Yeah.
people, the guy with the tires for hands, and Baby are the most absurd moments, and it's only going to get crazier.
It's like Game of Thrones. Every time somebody watches an episode with a gruesome death or, some sort of like really gratuitous sex scene or something, you sit there and you and you're like, this can't possibly get any worse, right? And then the next episode happens and it's like 10 more notches up, and you're like, how can it get worse than this? And then the next episode happens. It just
Yeah.
keeps going. This show is very similar to that, and it just keeps going and it builds. But again, that's part of its charm. And so at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to give it a number score. It's perfectly fun. I'd recommend it to people who just want to have a fun time. But it's not anything, overly special. If you're just somebody who wants to watch something serious or something grounded, maybe not your type of show. But this is a perfectly fun show, and I'm actually excited to keep watching as it keeps going and it keeps going on.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think the to close out my thoughts as well, the best way I can describe this is it is an absolutely absurdist show with moments that will have you either laughing out loud, feeling the most uncomfortable you've ever felt in your life, while also bringing an interesting, like, again, while be it not unique, an interesting enough story with enough heart that, at least for me, really worked and kept me engaged. And so, like you said, I am very, very excited to come back and continue to watch the. I mean, again, I binged 5 episodes in one night until 2 o'clock in the morning because I just wanted more. So
Sure.
I am shocked by how much I have engaged and enjoyed this show so far. But moving forward, we have our second show to talk about this week. And I'll let you kick off your thoughts after I give a little intro again. That would be Eyes of Wakanda. The next and all not last, we still have confirmed Marvel Zombies coming in, I believe it's October. And then we also have Wonder Man, which we haven't gotten an official release date for, but is supposed to be late this year. So this is not
Yes.
the last Marvel project of the year, but it is one of the last.
Yeah.
Again, produced by Ryan Coogler. This was not directed by Ryan Coogler. It's a very important note because Ryan Coogler was the director of the 2 Black Panther movies. He was only a producer for this, but still very obviously played a crucial role. I think you can really feel the Ryan Coogler in this. Um But yeah, Carson, I'll let you go kick off your thoughts. What did you think about the 4 episodes, each about 27-ish minutes long if you take out credits, things like that?
Around there, yeah. Look, I remember watching What If in its entirety. Did you ever finish What If? Was that something that you ever
Yeah,
actually finished? Okay.
I did. Unfortunately, season 2
What
was not it.
season 2 was not it, and even season 3, I was also like, "This is just okay. There's nothing special." Season 1 was also fine, but they had some really good episodes in there. Like, the whole Strange episode was really good. And then last year, we got Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is actually pretty good. It's very,
Yeah,
very fun. It's very decent. The writing's actually good, and I'm excited for season 2. So, animated shows from Marvel has been, like, a very specific, like, it's either really good or it's really, really mid. And this show is somewhere in between. Again, it's only 4 episodes, so I can't really say, like, much as far as, like, okay, yeah, this is gonna get better and better and better. But, like, I can if I'm going episode by episode and saying how I felt, first episode, very boring, sloppily written, fine ending. I really was not excited for the rest of the season. Episode 2, they added the whole Trojan war into it, and I went, "This is very interesting. I like the place they're taking this. It's very cool." And then they roped episode 1 into episode 2 with that ending. I went, "Wait a minute. Never mind. Episode 1 actually has something to offer now." Episode 3 happened. You get where I'm going with this. Each episode has built upon it and gotten better and better. Do I think it is the hottest, greatest, best thing to watch in this moment? Right now? No, not at all. It's perfectly fun. I think the animation is stellar. I think it is something that you can look at and be visually sucked into and have a great time with. I think episode 4 specifically is really well written. It's really well done. I even texted you, I was like, did you realize that the axe, like, I noticed the moment they pulled out the axe from the ship that was the axe Killmonger grabbed in the museum. I was like, they're gonna rope that in somehow. I'm like, I know they are, but it actually, like, that was the first time we got anything right technically really related to the Black Panther. Um, and so it also adds something there more too, to a certain extent. Um, and so again, it's just a show that built, and I had to warm up to. I'm still not as, like, hyped on this, but I also wasn't as hyped on, like, What If, and even at certain points, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I just think that the animated shows for me, like, they're really cool to look at. They're just not anything special. The only show that I've watched in its entirety that Marvel's done that's animated, and I went, "That's stellar," and it might even be top tier Marvel, is X-Men '97. Like, that show is phenomenal. It's so well written, and it's so well done. Um, and this show isn't bad necessarily, but they haven't done anything yet that absurdly wows me. Episode 4 was like the first thing where I went, okay, yeah, this is very good. I really like where they're heading with this. Let's stay on this track. So I have a very love-hate thing with this show, but I can say it's good as of right now. It's a perfectly fine watch. What are your thoughts on this?
So I'm gonna start this off by saying something that's probably gonna upset some people. I have not seen X-Men '97. The reason why I have not seen X-Men '97 is because I want to take my time and to go back and watch all of the original animated series that builds into X-Men '97, and I do not have the time to do that now. I'm hoping that things will die down in a few months and I'll have the opportunity because I do really want to go back and watch it. I understand, and there might be people that tell me this. I know I do not need to watch the original show to enjoy X-Men '97. That is just the way that I want to watch it personally. So that's just why I have not seen X-Men '97. The reason why I
Right.
preface that is because I think that this is the second best animated thing that the MCU has produced. I would put Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man at number one for me. I loved that show. I actually really, really loved that show. It is one of the best Spider-Man things. Like everything that Spider-Man has produced in the MCU, I think has been exceptional. This was no exception to that rule. This is the second, and it's honestly, I was even thinking about putting this as number one. There were multiple moments where I was watching this and I was like, this might be the best animated thing that Marvel has done. Not that the bar is all that high, because What If
No.
sucked. Um, so do with that what you will. And I do understand that once I see X-Men 97, my opinion will probably change on the rankings, but I am really high on this show. I think that this is like this like Thunderbolts, really, really good. Fantastic Four, really, really good. I personally see this standing up there with those in quality for me personally. I fully disagree with you that the first episode was boring. Like, I loved the first. I loved every single episode. In fact, we actually kind of have opposite opinions. I think that the worst episode in this was the last episode. I thought that they took that last episode in a direction that did not feel like it was as necessary of a direction. The second I saw Uatu overlooking when they were driving through the forest, I was like, oh, they're about to go multiversal. They're about to go what if. This is going to be a whole big thing. And while I don't hate it, introducing the time travel elements and the otherworldly elements, I was way more engaged with the stories that were being told of the Wakandan history and things of that nature than I was with the idea of making this multiversal. Because I love the
Sure.
multiversal things, don't get me wrong. I just hate the fact that this felt like it was required because everything needs to feel multiversal nowadays. And I don't think
Well,
that
and it
that's good.
doesn't. But I agree with you. Not everything nowadays needs to feel multiversal, and I agree with you on that. It's just okay. So I didn't mean to cut you off from your quick thoughts, but I'm kind of like just cutting in here because it's more like this is kind of how I feel about this show. Each episode, 1, 2, and 3, yes, they somehow connect to the other, but up until episode 4, it kind of followed a very what if style format. And I don't know if the writers or the showrunners, that were from What If, so I have no idea. They very well could be completely different. It just felt very what ify to me, where it's this is in this storyline, this is in this storyline, this is in this storyline. They might have very little to connect with. They might have like some snippets of things that connected here and there, but they're all their own story. And I kind of have a hard time, especially after shows like Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and X-Men 97, where they all are, it's one flowed story completely all the way through. Not saying that, there aren't side missions or filler episodes or side plots. You can have that in a show. But this show feels very different, and it follows the what if story format. And I'm hoping that's not the rest of the show. I do hope the rest of the show finds a more consistent pace where it's just,
Well, this is
one
it.
after the next. It
This is
connects.
it. This is the only Eyes of Wakanda we're getting. It was just a 4-episode thing. There is no more Eyes of Wakanda.
That's kind of sad. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's kind of sad.
I mean, I
I
think it's
wanted
sad
more
because
from this.
I want more.
No, I know I wanted more too, but
Here's
I want more for a different reason.
here's my thing. My biggest problem with the What If series was not the way that they told those stories. In fact, the only way that you can tell a What If style story is doing it episodically. It is doing it. This storyline is self-contained. This storyline is self-contained. The problem I had with What If was the fact that the stories that they chose were just not engaging. Especially with their later seasons. I just like season 1 was not half bad. It was not terrible. It was kind of interesting with some of the stories. And then you have the Darcy the Duck episode in the most recent season, and it just got way too out there, way too not interesting. I did not connect with anything that was happening. But the actual idea, and here's the thing. I knew that this was going to be the way that they told the story going in. Maybe you didn't, and maybe that's why you're a little lower on it. I knew that this was going to
Maybe.
be an episodic look at the history of Wakanda. That was what I was expecting. And so once we started getting that, I was like, okay, we're going to tell different stories throughout the history of Wakanda and build out the wider world and their involvement in the global politics. As much as they say they're not involved, clearly they are involved. And we get hints of
Sure.
that through Black Panther. The first Black Panther movie gives you hints as to the greater involvement of Wakanda, as much as they say that they're not involved with global politics. Because
Right.
they aren't, but at the same time, they are.
Right.
And so, just to start going on the like not episode to episode, but like just talking about the show. First of all, I loved the first episode because, dude, the idea of the boat city was so dope to me. That was such a cool concept when they introduced that, and they had like the mothership boat and all the other boats that connected by docks and built out this whole. I thought that was so cool. I thought that the yes, you can make the argument that it's like, oh, you don't really connect with anything and it feels very rushed. But again, you're just following missions. And I think that's where, for you, it was a little bit of a disservice not knowing that this was going to be episodic going into it, because you might have gone into the first episode expecting that the characters that you're introduced to in the first episode are going to be the characters you follow through. And if that is where how you went in and that was your expectation, I can understand how you would be lower on it, because yeah, they kill everyone off. They kill them off very quickly. They don't really engage you with any of the like, yes, the main villain, but in terms of all the other side characters that seem to they're gonna play a big role, they all die very quickly, and you kind of just move forward because that's the nature of the way that this show is going to tell a story. I don't
Right.
really
Yeah.
like
I yawned and I was getting ready to move my mic again and then I just punched it apparently. So no, so here yes. But that being said, I don't like that style of format. I don't. I don't like jumping from characters to characters to characters to different plots, even if that's what the show's about. Even if it's about the history and it's just four simple missions of Wakanda. To me, the show at that point, I don't have enough time to resonate or care enough about it. Like, I'm glad this is only 4 episodes and this is all we're getting. Because if we were getting more of Eyes of Wakanda, I wouldn't really have much interest to watch more of it, purely because of the style format that it goes for. Another great example is Tales of the Jedi or Tales of oh
Tales
gosh,
of the Underworld
Tales of
was the most recent one.
Underworld. Thank you. That's the one I was thinking of. Tales of the Underworld. It was perfectly fine, but I feel no reason to go back and rewatch them. And I love Cad Bane. Cad Bane's one of my favorite characters
Yeah.
in Star Wars history ever. But I feel no need to go back to it, and even more so in that show versus Eyes of Wakanda. They had 3 episodes to flesh out an overarching story in history. I wish if this show was going to take this method, I wish it at least would have taken more of an approach like that, where we got more time with each history and build up and character, because we could have felt more, we could have cared more. It's 30 minutes, one and over. It's a nice little cherry on top. Like if you're a big Marvel fan, to go, oh, this is really nice. You get to see some really cool fight scenes, really cool action, which I give it that. The animation's really good, and you get to see some fun little things every now and again. You get to see the history of Wakanda. Beyond that, the show offers nothing to me that I'm just like, okay, this is must watch, very much needed. Um,
See,
and so like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think that this is a must watch. I think that this is again visual. I agree with you, visually stunning, but I think that the episode to episode nature is engaging. And it yes, you don't have enough time to necessarily relate to every single character instantaneously, but you get enough to understand what the purpose of that story is. So it's because it's really funny because beforehand you thought that we were going to have very similar opinions on both of these shows, and to a lesser extent we didn't fully disagree on Twisted Metal, but I fully disagree with you on your opinion of Eyes of Wakanda. I am super high on this show. Like I was engaged immediately.
Like, and here's similar to what I say about most things. Like, if you're high on the show, I don't blame you. Maybe you're seeing something that I'm not, that I'm just not seeing. But I think I'm kind of fed up with Marvel animation. Like, I'm excited for Marvel Zombies. I'm excited to watch it. I think it's gonna be perfectly fun. It's gonna be a good time. That being said, that's a spin-off of a episode of What If, and they're going to try to carry an entire series. I don't know if it's just like a one season ordeal or not, similar like this if it's 4 episodes or whatever, but they're going to try to create more surrounding that. They're going to have to give us something like a set of characters to follow from start to finish for me to have to care about it. I cannot sit and do another bit like this where it's like, okay, we're following these characters now. We're following these characters now. We're following these characters now. And again, there's nothing absurdly wrong with it. I had a fun time with it, other than episode 1, which I just found boring. I thought it was perfectly fine, but it's not the most in-depth, well-written. It's just okay. And I do not
Uh,
think it's something that I'm going to recommend to everybody. That's
for
just where I'm at with it.
first off, before I get into telling you how stupid you are, you do realize that Marvel Zombies is a very popular 2006 comic book run and not just a spin-off of one episode of What If. It is a very popular comic book story that's been told actually multiple different times. So it's not just an episode of What If. It's actually like a story that has happened multiple different times and is actually really interesting. So I'm very excited for it because I've actually read quite a bit of the Marvel Zombies comics and I know where that story goes. And I think if they do it right, even if it's just an episode to episode retelling of the Marvel Zombies story, it's going to be a high up there one for me.
So I didn't realize that. I didn't realize there was a whole Marvel comic book run where they were Marvel Zombies. I didn't
Yeah,
realize
there's
that.
multiple. The original one was 2006, and then I think they've done it twice since then.
Okay. Well, that's why. Okay, that might actually lift my hopes then a little bit. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a spin-off of an episode from WandaVision. That actually makes more sense now why everybody was super hyped about the Marvel Zombies episode when they did What If.
Yes.
Uh, that actually
Yes.
makes a lot more sense now. I didn't even realize that. This just goes to show how much I fully know about comics too. It's like I had no idea that existed. And
Yeah,
I
no,
know
Marvel Zombies is
quite
one
a
that
bit
I
about
really
comics.
enjoy. I really enjoy the Marvel Zombie story. That is one of my most that is my most I guess out of what's left, the 2 projects that we or I guess technically we know about 3. I'd say Marvel Zombies is my most anticipated because we're getting the Punisher special this year. We're getting the Wonder Man special this year, and then we're getting Marvel Zombies. Those are the 3 things that we have left this year. Marvel Zombies ranks number 1 for me, even over Punisher. And the reason and to be fair though, I haven't seen the Daredevil stuff, so I don't know. Maybe it would rank higher. It probably would. But Marvel Zombies is number 1 for me just because of what I've gotten out of the comic book runs that I have read of Marvel Zombies. Um, but anyways, with Eyes of Wakanda, I just don't personally see how you can view this as boring. I mean, first of all, it is action packed. The elements of the story that we get. My favorite episode personally is the second episode. It is the Achilles Greek episode. I loved that episode a lot. I am a Greek nerd. I've read the Percy Jackson series. I love Greek history. There was a big part of my life that got really into that. That's why one of the reasons I'm so excited for the Odyssey movie that's coming up. It's my most anticipated film of next year. Um, so all of that stuff is really exciting for me, but I just I don't know. I just can't see how you can see this as boring.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that. And I don't know, I about talking about things that I'm just like I thought were really cool in these episodes. First off, I will say this. They did Iron Fist so right
I
in this
was waiting for
series.
you to bring up Iron Fist because canonically this is the best Iron Fist that the MCU has ever done.
Yeah, no, this felt like a even more of a comic accurate version of Iron Fist, which I'm kind of like, okay. So Finn Jones had a whole 2-season show, and they somehow made a 30-minute episode better than the entire series of a show themed to that character. Okay, sure. Um, I thought I know, like, if we're talking about just like animation fight scenes, that fight scene between Iron Fist and the one guy, I don't know his name, but the one guy, it was just visually stunning. Like I was in that fight scene. I thought it was really cool. I thought the way that they the different styles of fight, like I love how they were able to differentiate the martial art style that the Iron Fist has versus all the different Wakandans or the different like people that they're fighting against. It was really, really well done. I like because I could tell that there was a different fighting style. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the way it just flowed differently than the other styles of fighting. Um, the way the Iron Fist looked was really good. I can't praise that enough. You did Iron Fist right. Give yourselves a round of applause. Granted, that bar was really down there, and it was really
Fair
hard to do. It was really easy to pass that bar, but you still did Iron Fist better than his own show. So thank you for that. I do like the dynamic that the father and son shared in episode 4. again, I nerded out about that stupid axe because I was like, oh, the Killmonger axe. He uses that. I know that. I did
Also,
nerd out about that a little bit. But the dynamic that the father and son share in that was actually some of the only moments where I was like, I really wish we had more with these characters because they're both really entertaining and both really, really well done.
so that was not a father and son. That was a prince and his guard, just to specify. That was not a father-son dynamic. Also, to answer your question that you texted me about, no, I did not know that that was Killmonger's axe. I very much did not realize until we get to it wasn't the end credit scene, I don't think, but it was when that episode ended. I just when we saw Killmonger on screen, I was like, "Oh shit, that's what that axe was." I fully did not clock that like whatsoever. And so when we saw that, I did admittedly flip out. I was kind of nerding out. But again, like my biggest problem with that last episode is just that they went too big with it, especially given the context of the other episodes. The other
Right.
episodes were a lot more grounded.
Right. Yes. Um, I will give you that. The other episodes felt more grounded, but again, it's like my complaints of I also didn't like how the episodes flow because they're different. They're just different stories that don't really have much connection beyond in episode 2 when uh uh uh, uh
You're not
I
gonna
don't know how to
remember
say
her
his name.
name, and I tried to look up their names,
I
you cannot find what?
I think it's supposed to be I think it's supposed to be Agamemnon. Oh, I can't even say the name right. Then I'm trying to say it. Agame
Maybe.
Menmon. Agamemnon. I think it's supposed to be like Agamemnon
I tried
in
to
the
look up
Trojan
their names,
history.
by the way, when you were talking about it. You cannot find the character names online. Even if you go to the cast, they only have the cast of the first episode. Everyone else is just mystery character or additional voices.
Agamemnon. It might be a different name. I don't know. I know Achilles, but that's also because Achilles is in the Trojan history. Oh, there it is. Menmon. So it's not Agamemnon, but I feel like that might have been who it was. But Achilles
Mhm.
and Agamemnon, like that was a very grounded story. Still, like okay, I kind of believe that relationship a little bit, but it wasn't enough to like. I wish I would have stuck more with those characters. I really do. And the connected tissue is at the end of that episode. You have the older version of Nani, who, if for whatever reason, I even said this out loud. I was like, why is older Nani kind of like Nick Fury, but female and female? I was like, what happened here? Why are you Nick Fury? Um, and so you had connected tissues like that are weaved throughout the episodes, but overall, it's together, but it's also disconjointed. I had a fun time, but it's not like I don't know. I can't really say much about this show, and this is why I'm glad we did two different topics. Because, like, if this was the only topic, oh boy, I'd be screwed. Because I really can't say much about this show beyond it was fine. I didn't hate myself while watching it, but I'm also not going to go back and watch it later on. Nor unless you're a Marvel fan who really wants to know the history of Wakanda and see some really cool things happen in this little short series, which you can watch in pretty much like an hour or so. So it's not like it's that difficult of a watch. I'm not going to go around recommending this to every person like I would, Fantastic Four or Thunderbolts, where it's something where I'm like, this is actually really good. You're going to enjoy this. And I don't know. I'm shocked that we're very different on that.
Yeah, no, this is probably the most we've ever disagreed on something on the podcast because I don't know, I'm so high on this. I was so engaged. Again, especially that second episode being my favorite with the Greek Trojan storyline. Like I loved that, the brotherhood that they shared, the betrayal that they had with Achilles
Sure.
really had me gripped. And again, your favorite episode is my least favorite episode. That fourth episode just lost me so much because the reason I was
Sure.
engaged with this show is because we were getting those very grounded, for lack of a better term, storyline, individualized characters going through struggles, and then all of a sudden you're
Right.
introducing time travel and world-ending threats, and oh, if you don't do this, the world's gonna end, and Wakanda needs to. Why? That was not necessary. In fact, that felt like Ryan Coogler
Sure.
didn't write that episode. Like Ryan Coogler You can tell his influence is very much throughout everything. That last episode to me
Right.
felt like Marvel stepped in and said, "You need to do this," and I did not like that.
It's like they get done writing the first 3 episodes, and all of a sudden you hear a knock on the door. Hi, it's Mr. Feige. Did you build that world-ending threat episode yet? All right, why
Yeah.
don't you build me that episode, guys? Yeah, screw that grounded episode where you were gonna have the Black Panther show up. Yeah, we're gonna have this world-ending threat with a sky beam come in. You better throw the Fantastic Four in there. It's perfect. There you go.
Well,
You know, I don't know.
and
I
because
don't blame Kevin Feige, but it's just funny to make fun
I'm
of him
not I'm not
sometimes.
blaming Kevin Feige, but here's the thing. One I was so disengaged from that fourth episode from the beginning because one of the things that is like the beginning of that plot is the Black Panther lady, the Queen of Wakanda, comes back in time and immediately starts fighting them. Immediately. And then what? 10 minutes into the fight, it was probably like 5, but like a ways into the fight, eventually she's like, "Why are we fighting? I don't want to fight you. I'm just here for the axe. We can work together. We're both Wakandans." You started the fight. She's the one who started the fight with them. And then immediately was like, "Oh, we don't need to fight," after fighting them for like so long. Why? It was so unnecessary and it felt sloppily put together.
It's like if somebody walks up to you and just sucker punches you in the face and goes, "Oh, I didn't start that. I'm a perfectly good guy." No, you're
Yeah,
perfectly fine. This is perfectly
yeah.
okay.
That is
It's
exactly what
it's just
happens.
nothing says hello like a punch to the face. Have you ever just wanted to walk up to your closest friend and slap them across their fucking face? You know,
Yeah,
nothing says
it's those first 3 episodes, very well written, very self-contained stories, and then it felt like Big Daddy Marvel came in, slapped him on the ass, and said, "Good job for those 3 episodes. Now it's time to fuck this shit up and
yeah,
come in here and add a world-ending threat, tie it into the multiverse, tie it into Black Panther with that axe." Because again, I said I didn't know that that was the axe, and while it is cool, and I flipped out and nerded out a little bit, it felt unnecessarily forced. Oh, this whole axe is what stops these big creatures from coming in and destroying everything. Why the fuck did you need that when you're 2 episodes ago, you're fighting Achilles in Greece, and now you're fighting giant sky bug monsters?
I feel like, I just see like the writers in the room, Mr. Kugler, Mr. Feige, why are you so upset? You know that really cool episode that you guys wanted to write that was so grounded? Yeah, well, we just talked to Mr. Mickey Mouse and he really wants that big money. Big money worth the big threat. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys. You have to scratch all that hard work. And while you're at it, it just just make us that world-ending threat episode because they're gonna kill us
yeah,
at Disney.
yeah.
It's mostly Disney's fault.
Yeah. Again, I personally have a lot to say on the show, but I know you don't, so I'm not gonna like force you to sit here and just listen to me yap about it. But like overall, visually, this is the best animated show that Marvel has made by a mile. I think obviously
Sure.
second for me would be Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but the reason why I like that style so much is because Marvel is actually really good at making each of their animated shows feel unique. The What If
Yeah.
style is the What If style. The Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man style is the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man style. The Eyes of Wakanda
Right.
style is the Eyes of Wakanda style. And I haven't seen X-Men 97 all
Right.
the way through, but I've
It
seen the
has
X-Men
its own
and the
style.
X-Men
Has its own
correct.
style.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So it all feels unique and itself. And I love that because I really feel like the art style even further enhances and they killed it again with the music. I mean, Black Panther had some great soundtrack, both first one and the second one. So they just
Right.
continue that here. I don't know if it's the same person who was involved with those movies. Given that Ryan Coogler was involved, I'd assume it probably was. Um, but yeah, it each episode to me was engaging, except for that last one, which I'm not even saying was god awful. I just felt it was unnecessary, and they could have just continued with a really cool. There are so many ways that I can think of that they could have wrapped up Eyes of Wakanda without making it a world-ending threat, and they picked the wrong answer, in my opinion. They had A, B, C, and
Sure.
D, and they went F to fuck you.
Sure. And I'm the other way around where it's F you, F you, F you. Here's an okay episode. you know, it's just funny that we have the opposite ends of the spectrum for it. But hey, that's bound to happen. It's bound to happen with certain shows. Everybody's opinion's different. It's just my opinion's right and yours is wrong. That's all it is.
Oh, oh. See, it's funny because I crash out a lot. This has been my personality forever. I crash
Oh,
out. I
sure.
get angry.
Oh, yeah.
One day I'm gonna have an opinion that is going to make you crash out as hard as some of your opinions make me crash out, and I'm excited for that
It's
day.
it's gonna happen one day, and I'm not ready for it.
It's inevitable, but no, I know you said you don't want more episodes. Okay, here's the thing. I I I only say I want more episodes because I want a new episode to replace that last episode. Other than that, if they would have had a different, better ending to this, I feel like I would feel like this was a nice, really well done 4 episode series that I would personally recommend to. Okay, I'm not going to recommend it to non Marvel fans because you definitely need to have an understanding of Marvel to fully enjoy this show, mainly because of that last episode. Other than that, I think each episode stands on its own and doesn't require any pre-existing knowledge of Marvel. So you could even recommend this to a friend who maybe just enjoyed Black Panther and they wanted to find out more, or has only seen a few Marvel movies. Like, I would recommend that to them. And I think that they would have a good time. I think that they would enjoy it. I don't think it is the
Sure.
best thing that Marvel's ever made, but in terms of their animated shows specifically, it's definitely up there.
Sure. I mean, look, and I'm not saying that there's not some friends that I have that I couldn't recommend this to. I don't know. I'm not very high in this show, and that's it. Nail and coffin. I am Carson. Quote. I'm not very high on this show.
And I am, end quote. Well, I guess moving on from this, gonna do a little bit of housekeeping before I end this out. Talk through a few things. Because we have a little bit of time before I need to go, and I have a few things I just want to just get out there. I recently started on the social media platforms doing a review of the Mighty Nine campaign. I think I talked about this last week where my 2 a.m. sleep deprived ass made a deal with TikTok that if the short did well, I would talk about it. It did very well. First episode is now up. It's going to be every single Thursday. Thursday nights is the day that Critical Role campaigns typically drop, and it also just ends out being the best day in my schedule to fit it in. So if you're at all interested in that, let us go there, watch it. First episode's up, and I'm gonna be posting reviews until I'm done, and then probably start the next campaign. They just recently announced campaign 4 actually coming out in October. I don't know how
Yep.
engaged you are with the D&D community as a whole, but this is an insane announcement. So Matthew Mercer, best DM, one of the best DMs in history, is the DM for Critical Role the first 3 campaigns. He is no longer DMing campaign 4. He's stepping down to be a player. And the person
Yeah.
who's DMing this campaign is the other best DM in the world, Brendan Lee Mulligan, which is
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know. How much do you know about Brendan Lee Mulligan other than probably some college humor dropout stuff?
College humor dropout stuff is mostly my extent, but I do know that he's like a very popular DM. I've seen some clips from both him and Matt Mercer. They're kind of similar to certain extents, but
Yeah.
I think they both focus on different aspects of their DMing. Again, I haven't watched a lot of Critical Role like all the way through. I've seen various clips, various episodes, maybe like 30-minute stints at most. Like I watched when Joe Manganiello was like a random villain B character who just shows up randomly, and I'm like, oh, that's really fun. But I'm a big D&D fan. I literally my friend gifted me a D&D game for my birthday yesterday when I had people over for SummerSlam. So like I'm a big D&D fan, but I don't necessarily watch other people play it necessarily.
Yeah, I've been a fan of live plays for a long time. Watched things like Dungeons and Daddies. I've watched things like The Adventure Zone. I've watched multiple. Is my first introduction. Technically, it's my second introduction to Critical Role. I watched a few episodes of Vox Machina, but those first few episodes, everyone universally accepts, are very hard to get into, and it picks up in like 27 episodes, and everyone's like, just skip those first 27 episodes. I'm not the type, you know me. I can't skip episodes. I that's just not who I am. I don't even skip filler in anime,
Right.
and that's a problem.
Right.
But yeah. So yeah, I'm doing that. Carson's talking about wrestling on the short forms.
Let's go wrestling. Big wrestling. Professional wrestling. Let's go.
Yeah, I would assume you're going to be posting stuff about SummerSlam that just happened.
I'm gonna be posting about that Seth Rollins. I'm gonna crash out for a bit on the. I'm gonna crash out for a bit. I apologize, everybody who's on the short form platform. But yes, I will be talking about that. Probably you'll get a video tomorrow involving that. And then talking about Monday Night Raw later this week, SmackDown, so on, so on. But yeah, no, I'm excited for tonight. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm trying to get out of here so I can get out of here and go watch SummerSlam. So I can get more content up about John Cena. Because, John Cena is the GOAT and he is the greatest wrestler of all time, in my opinion. He is so good.
Wow, that is probably going to get a lot of hate if you say that online. So
It's
please say that
no, it's
online
not.
because
No,
that is
no.
hilarious.
Randy Orton's the best wrestler. Randy Orton's my favorite wrestler. I love John Cena a lot, and I'm so excited to see what he does tonight because he's now a good guy again. Just last week he went from being the bad guy to a good guy, and I see a very strong chance that he's faking it and he's just gonna smack somebody in the face and be a bad guy in like 2 hours here. So
Fair
take
enough.
what you can get.
Well, funny enough, you're about to get a lot more John Cena coming up shortly because not next week, but the week after, I believe, or maybe 2 weeks
Peacemaker.
from now. Correct. I believe it's August 24th. So I think that's 2 weeks from now, maybe 3 weeks from now. We'll be doing Peacemaker. We'll be talking about it on the podcast. We'll talk about a little bit of season one, probably mainly focusing on season two. So both very excited for that. But next week is going to be more Twisted Metal. We're going to talk about, they're doing 2 episodes a week. This week they did 3. The future, they're doing 2 episodes. We're going to talk about Twisted Metal as it releases. And next week is going to be The Naked Gun. I have
Yes.
not seen the original, and I probably won't see the original before I go to see this movie. Carson, have you seen
Very
the
funny.
original Naked Gun?
Yes, very funny. Very talented.
Okay. We originally were gonna do Freakier Friday, and then we both kind of sat down
No.
and looked at each other
No.
on the phone and went, we both don't care enough to talk about Freakier Friday. I don't see this movie being something that gets stellar reviews and being something that we're both super interested in. And granted, it will be technically a week late to The Naked Gun, but we don't. It's not like we really care all that much. We did Phoenician Scheme like 3 months after it came out because we wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're just going to talk about it then. If you're interested in seeing The Naked Gun, that'll be next week. Twisted Metal will be next week as well. Anything else you want to say to close out this episode? I know you really want to get to SummerSlam, so
I have a headache. That is it.
you always have a headache. I don't think you never don't have a headache.
Yep. I need to probably
Have
go
you
down
tried
and down
drinking
some
water?
Tylenol. I forgot to bring water to today's session, and I couldn't just get out of my chair to go grab it.
Yeah, that as you probably see me all the time drinking out of my One Piece cup because I drink a lot of water while on this podcast because I need to stay hydrated because I'm terrible at drinking water. Um,
Sure.
Anyways, with that being said, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. Carson, we have made it to episode 22, which, if you remember,
Is
people
the
who make it to episode
1%.
22, we are now considered in the 1% of podcasters for making it this long. That's huge. I'm really proud of us. We've been going for 22 weeks. Kind of
Confetti.
crazy to think about.
Woo.
22 weeks is close to half of the year. Not exactly because there's 52 weeks in a week in a year, so it's technically what is that?
Sure.
26 episodes will be half of the year, but still a lot of episodes. Gonna
A
continue
lot of
doing it.
episodes.
Having a lot of
Getting up there.
fun. But yeah, Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode. You can find us on all podcast hosting platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, all at Nerdy Nimrods. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all the social media platforms at Nerdy Nimrods. We do 3-minute reviews. We talk about wrestling. I talk about Critical Role. I talk about anime. It's just a fun time over there. Go ahead and check it out. We just recently started posting clips of the podcast at Nerdy Nimrods Clips, both on YouTube and on TikTok. So if you want to watch me crash out, which is most of the clips that are on there so far, and it's probably going to be a few of them that come out of this episode, go check those out. Relive your favorite moments. So yeah, with that being said, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, stay nerdy.